Today, we're looking at Krishna's Silent Night Sky. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Krishna's Silent Night Sky is a blue ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Lamy All-Star with a 1.1 stub to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this is a good prime blue. It looks to be only blue. It's pushing its way up. It's not fleeing from water, but it is pushing its way up and getting darker as it moves up. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water, and there is a very distinctly dark blue line across the bottom before it pushes up. It does mean to me that this particular ink may have some resistance going on because in only 10 minutes it was really seeping in. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I was shocked. Based on the chromatography, I really expected some resistance in 3 days, and it didn't. This is blurry and gross, and just don't use it as a note taker if you highlight. Don't. No, don't. Bad. Water is reactivating and lifting all of its darkest tones, but it's leaving a lot of ink on the paper. A lot of ink on the paper. The pen flush, isn't doing anything more than water did. Now, I think this is a pretty dense ink, and what we're seeing is the density of that ink is really getting on there, and it's hard for these things to move away. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper. It left a slight bit of yellow staining, which does happen from time to time. It just means try this ink out in a less expensive pen to make sure that it doesn't stain it. I did have to use the 1/3 bleach solution to get it completely out of my pen. I had to run it twice. I had to completely flush my pen very well after to make sure I did not rust my metal parts. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Krishna's Silent Night Sky has a viscosity of 3.75. Having trouble finding that? It's all the way to the right on this viscosity scale. This is a super dry, dense ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Krishna's Silent Night Sky has an average dry time of 12 seconds. So despite it having such a high viscosity number, it being so very dry, so very dense, its dry time is slightly faster than normal. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in bottle form when I ordered a whole bunch of their inks, and wow, another really good one here. Definitely, yeah. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium. Camera's never going to actually focus for me. That's why I just move on with that. And a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shading. But it's a beautiful light tone. Not too light to even use, well dark enough to use, but it's a light tone for this ink. The extra fine is slightly darker than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. Beautiful all the way. The medium is a darker tone, ever so slightly darker than the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. The Scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it, but the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, but of course we have ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Great color. This is on this paper. For this paper, that's the best color to me, the best tone of this blue. I wish this tone of blue worked all the way through. It would be just absolutely amazing. The extra fine is a darker tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. The medium is a darker tone again than the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 21 seconds to dry. The Scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it in the smear test. Nope, sorry. No recovery there. Rhodia. Now, it's not a bleed spot you're seeing. That's a spot from a paper underneath because I'm impatient and stupid. I don't know. But that's not bleed. We have no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone than the 1.1, and here, this one looks the best as its tones. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. Great. The medium is a significantly darker tone than even the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 17 seconds to dry. The Scrubby of the extra fine and the medium have no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, but the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. So yellow Tomoe River, my goodness, yellow Rhodia. To see what happens if I put this with a different color background, what does it do with the color of the ink? But we get no bleeding, no ghosting, which is what we expect. It is still Rhodia paper. Now here I get a shift. See, the extra fine looks the same. The medium gets a sort of, it gets a green tint towards it. And the 1.1, it makes this color look, and I don't think the tone is actually changed. I think being on the yellow paper makes the tone of the 1.1 look the nicest here. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading. The extra fine is slightly darker than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 7 seconds to dry still. Yep. The medium is a significantly darker tone than all of them, and the medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. Still 17 seconds to dry. The Scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. In the smear test, you could still recover this. Up next is Hazel Notebooks. Now, Hazel Notebooks I ordered when I ordered all those inks. It's a Hazel brand. It's the Noonday Brocade Pocketbook. This is a toothy paper, and it tends to handle ink very well. Amazingly well. I wish these books were available here in America much easier. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shading. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 2 seconds to dry. The medium is a significantly darker tone. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Now, with all of that said, I don't know what happened right in here. In these 3 spots, I don't know what happened. Something's weird going on in those tiny 3 little spots. But it's so isolated that I don't really want to call it something that's going on. I don't know if maybe I touched the paper in that area. I don't know if something got on the paper. I don't know if there was a little water spot. I couldn't say. Something weird happened in those 3 spots. It took 6 seconds to dry. The Scrubby for both showed us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. So up next is Kansan Bristol. It's an art paper. It has no bleeding and no ghosting. I say it every time. I would be shocked if it did. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone as the 1.1.
It has no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 5 seconds to dry. And the medium is a significantly darker tone than the extra fine or 1.1. It has no feather spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't get any. And the smear test, still, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. And that is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Krishna's Silent Night Sky, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I chose a really nice magenta, Noodler's Ottomon Rose. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Krishna's Silent Night Sky? No matter what pen, no matter the nib, the flow, none of that mattered. It gave me a very vibrant blue every single time, which is a gorgeous thing to see when it can act so predictably that this is the very vibrant blue we're going to get. Now, mostly predictably. We do see some tone changes a little bit, went from your extra fine dry pen to your broad wet pen. But the tone changes, you really need to put them side by side to be able to see. So this is very nice in how predictable it is. Thanks for watching.